Okay. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are Community. I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes, but we are very excited to be launching our the next level board and committee trainings. These are definitely all for you. We have some great speakers here today. I will be introducing them in a couple minutes as well. But first, let's talk a little bit about what we need to worry about today as far as being in this meeting. So as you can see, your microphone will be muted. We are in a meeting format. So you are able to unmute, but Shelby, our technical person on the back end, will probably mute you if you accidentally come off of it. If you have a question, please use the chat box and we will definitely get those to our presenters. If again, networking, we're all about networking at Community. So if you want to put your, your contact information and maybe if you have an event coming up or something like that, let everybody know. Throughout the presentation, we will be referring to important links. Shelby will be putting those in the chat box for you and you can pull them down. I always like to have a document open or notepad or something so I can take them and place them. But don't worry, if you don't have time to do that or you miss it, we will have a follow-up email coming out to you and that will have all the information that you need as well as some resources from this event. If you have technical difficulty, which we hope you don't, Shelby is here. If you happen to still be on the line, you can just chat her. Otherwise, go ahead and jot down her email, which is at the bottom of the screen. It's shelby@corpevent.com. And definitely give her, reach out to her if anything unfortunately goes wrong. So let's talk a little bit about Community. I know some of you, it's great to see some familiar people on this meeting. So some of you probably already know a little bit about Community, but I bet there's some people who maybe don't, but received this email invitation and thought, hey, that sounds really good. I'm going to join you. Community is really a part of Chicago Association Management. If anybody knows Ed Graziano, who is the owner and founder of our organization. He's right here waving. He is one well-connected person. He's been doing this for 30 years, and I would say he could be the mayor of Chicago if we all wanted to vote him in. But honestly, we wanted to really develop a platform where we could have groups of people that are our colleagues, our business partners, our association management clients, our friends, where we would have a place where everyone can network with each other. We could offer up some great education events and also have an opportunity for you to share who you are, what you do, and any events that you have coming up. So please go onto our website, which is chicagoassociation.com. You're going to click on the Community tab, and right there you can join, click into the LinkedIn or Facebook groups and ask to join. We would love to have you. So with no further ado, though, I would love to introduce our presentation partner, David Schreier. David is somebody that I've been lucky enough to be collaborating with over the last several months, and I have to say, I'm really excited to have him here today. He has a consulting organization that focuses all within nonprofits for capacity building, planning, evaluation, development, all that great stuff. He's a trained mediator and mindfulness instructor, and he's also taught undergrad and graduate courses in nonprofit management and governance. So Dave is going to be our main presenter today, and then we also are going to be joined in a little while, although you can see her now on the screen, with our very own Karen Lynn. So glad to have Karen's support here today as well. She is currently working for Chicago Association Management as the administrator for the Rotary Club of Chicago. She's spent over 25 years in association management. She has an amazing background in just leadership development, capacity building. She is a certified strategic planning professional through the Association for Strategic Planning, and she's just going to be a great resource to have on this meeting in a little bit. So, David, I'm going to hand it all over to you. Take it off, and I will see you all back here towards the end as I'll share with you some events that are coming up with Community. Enjoy.
There we go. Okay, folks, thanks for giving me a second to get oriented. Hello, it's nice to actually see so many unmasked faces. And let me see if I can get you on some kind of gallery view so I can see lots of faces with no masks. I'm so glad to be with you here today to start the first of what will be many workshops that we'll be doing with CAM. We're so glad to be their partner. And thank you for your recent questions that helped inform our content and our focus for today. The slides we're going to share with you are very wordy from my perspective. And I'd like to ask you, don't worry about reading along. Maybe just focus more on what I'll be saying to you. And then you'll have a great set of tools you can look at later on that go into a much greater explanation. Our focus for today is on strengthening membership committees, and there is no silver bullet. I'll share my take with you on what I have found helpful approaches, and you can just add that into your toolkit of many other great things. Here's our flow for today. I'm going to share some information in the form of a presentation initially, and then I will ask our other guest presenter, Karen Lynn, to share some best practices, what she's seen work well with other organizations. And then we'll open that up to all of you for Q&A and for discussion. So many of you have been in the field and have great experiences. You know what's worked, or maybe you know what hasn't worked, and we can share that with each other. And then at the end, Kim will come in and we'll talk about some follow-up activities that will let us all stay in touch and learn and grow off of today's lessons. And I'm going to give you a takeaway assignment, a couple of assignments at the end, so you have some applied learnings right away. So that's our flow, and we'll wrap up no later than 12:30. So there will be two focuses for the workshop today. One will be how you can begin thinking about framing the accomplishments of your organization in particularly compelling ways. And we'll talk about why that's so important and how that can distinguish your organization from fighting for time and energy of your members that they're also hearing from other organizations. And we'll give you some suggestions on how to engage your stakeholders in ways that let them tell you how they would like to be involved, because we all want to feel we're making meaningful contributions. So we want to give voice to your folks to let them share with you what they would like to do. And Shelby, for some reason, it just doesn't want to let me scroll to the next page. So if I can ask you to.
Sure, I'll go. Yep, let me go ahead and share my screen.
Thanks. You could do the next slide. So some of you in your responses, and what we all know collectively as nonprofit association leaders, is that there are certain common challenges we've all been grappling with for our membership committees and just for our membership altogether. So dwindling and lapsing memberships just make everything more challenging. I've heard from so many of you that you really would love to attract younger members to your organization. And finding the most effective way to leverage people's time and talent and expertise and knowledge and resources can be really, really crucial, because so often I hear from volunteer leaders that they became involved with an organization because they wanted to contribute to the field, to the sector, to the cause, but they don't necessarily feel they're being used wisely. So we want to help maximize whatever people can bring to the table for us. And again, we're competing for time and money. People have other things going on in their lives, other nonprofit organizations, other associations. So what can we do to rise to the top of that list more? How do we stand out in the crowd is the question. Next slide, please. So I want to put something to you to maybe you've thought about this, but I wanted to bring it front and center that for your organizations, the membership committees truly are the ambassadors connecting you to all of your stakeholders. And I'm picturing you all wearing your silk ambassador sash in this session, and I'd like you to self-visualize that as well. But honestly, you're the ones closest to your constituents, right? You hear what's going on from the rank and file, from what's happening in the field, what people are doing. You could and should be a conduit for two-way communication with all of your stakeholders. And if the communication doesn't quite feel terribly two-way, then that's something to think about. But you're in an opportunity to hear what's on people's mind and also to convey back what the organization is trying to achieve and how they can be part of that. So all that goes to say, you are in key positions to inspire, to motivate, to engage, not just current members, but folks who have lapsed and folks who haven't come on board yet. And, I hope this doesn't sound too hackneyed, but you literally are, riding in the vanguard with your standard. You're in the front. You're who people see and hear from, or should, let's say, more than anyone else. And so you've got a unique opportunity, a unique role. Next slide, please. So in light of all the competition for people's time and resources, and as we think about how to distinguish ourselves as an organization, I like to ask the clients I work with to try to answer this question on behalf of their members, on behalf of their donors, on behalf of the beneficiaries that they serve. Why should I care? Why should I care about and fill in your organization's name? And this is an important question because we want to be able to speak to the difference we make. And we're more than just the professional association that you have to pay your dues for just for basic credentialing. We certainly are that, but we're more than that. So why should I care? It can help you begin to think about how to differentiate your organization. And it's going to infuse what you say, whether it's in person or online or in letters that get sent out, your passion and the heart, the ethos of your organization. And honestly, if you don't do it, another organization will. Next slide. So as we think about why should I care, I want to share with you an example of an organization I did a little facilitation around this question with recently. They do hearing advocacy work. And I asked them to think about who are all the different stakeholders that could possibly be impacted by your work that might have some stake in caring about what you do. And initially they were just thinking about, well, the parents we serve of deaf kids and our donors and our volunteers. But the more we thought about direct stakeholders and indirect, suddenly it went to, well, the school districts are impacted by our work and other nonprofit partners and local, state, and federal government, because we're doing things with people they're serving, or we're being able to partner with them, researchers in the field, caregivers of people affected by the cause we're serving. And suddenly, lo and behold, they realized, you know what, it's not just a kind of a one-to-one relationship. It's us and our members. It's so much broader in terms of our impact. And so one of your takeaway assignments will be thinking about all of the stakeholders to your organization and how you could and should be reaching them and hearing from them. Does this make sense so far? Let me just ask for head nods of the 6 people I can actually see on my screen. Tweed, is this making sense to you? Laura Scully? Yeah, okay. Next slide, please. So as we think about all the people and organizations impacted by our work, actually, Shelby, can you go back to that prior slide for a minute? I think that's inspiring. I think this organization could look at its scope and breadth and say, wow, we're doing a lot. Okay, and then forward again, Shelby, thank you. So as we think from a membership committee perspective, your opportunity to inspire your members, you can invite your rank and file supporters to join the important work of your organization as we think about, look at how we're impacting society, who we're reaching, and help educate your members on the vital difference you're making. And this is starting to get to that personal, meaningful difference that people want to feel. We all do this. We all want to feel when we give to an organization, we're changing things for the better. We're making a difference, even our small little gift. And so we can think about our members as, you know, our army, and we're helping them find ways to catalyze transformation and change in society through their time, through their financial resources, through their relationships. Next slide, please. I'm going to wrap up hopefully around 12, so we have some time for some Q&A and discussion. So I have found with the organizations I've worked that those membership committees thrive when they're able to, again, wear that ambassador sash and be omnipresent, be visible to members, and being present at events and activities and programs, being that informed voice of whatever your particular issue or issues are that you serve organizationally, so you can speak informedly and compellingly about them. This next one is so important, just being willing to listen, I shouldn't say willing, being available to listen, whatever that might be, a random comment on an email evaluation form, or somebody you're talking to at an event. But we really want to understand from people where they're at, because that will let us help them tune into their passions. And, you know, the final bullet point is just, frankly, how I think we should just go through life altogether, whether it's membership committee related or not, but just being genuine and letting others feel our commitment and who we are. And that's the most compelling thing at the end of the day. You could talk the talk, but if people see, wow, Trisha, she really believes this, I could see it in her eyes, she really believes this stuff she's saying, they'll feel that, right? Next slide. I'm seeing various chat things pop up, and I haven't gone over to look in the chat room. So just somebody let me know if there's something really compelling that I need to attend to.
We're good, David.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about how we frame our impact, how we articulate this expansive, inspiring vision and scope of what we do. We want to be able to, first of all, think about our reach, all those different stakeholders, and the ripple effect of what we do. But I always like to ask organizations to think about who benefits from your work and how. So you've got maybe some direct beneficiaries, people that it's much more of a one-to-one kind of situation, but there are maybe indirect beneficiaries, maybe society in general, or your village in general, or the industry in general is an indirect beneficiary, but they count too, because we're thinking about who we touch, and it gets wider and wider and wider. I also think, and this kind of gets to that why should I care question, being able to identify how our organization meets an undermet need or even an unmet need. What's the critical difference that wouldn't get done if it weren't for our association? If it weren't for us, a lot wouldn't happen. Well, you need to be able to talk about what wouldn't happen. I remember just being astounded. One day I was facilitating a planning retreat with an organization, and we were talking about this question. And I said to the group, if your organization went away tomorrow, if it disappeared tomorrow, would it make any difference at all? And I wasn't expecting this answer. The executive director who was in the room said, no, wouldn't make any difference if we disappeared tomorrow. And I mean, if I had more hair, I would have been pulling it out. I was just absolutely blown away. It was so dismaying. She didn't last much longer in that position, but hopefully all of us can think about what wouldn't get done that's good if it weren't for us. What are our particular approaches to solving these problems, addressing these issues, being a helpful bridge, being a link, making a difference? Next slide, please. So as we think about, as ambassadors, kind of stepping into the world with the approach, okay, you know what, I'm going to maybe more intentionally, me and the other members of my membership committee, we're going to maybe be a little bit more intentional asking our members, our stakeholders, so what is it we're doing right? Or why are we the organization you've chosen to partner with, and pull information from them and help understand, do they understand themselves that what we're doing is relevant and needed today? And if there's a little ambiguity there, then fine, that's an opportunity for us to do a different type of education. How much do people really know about the issues? I saw somebody from a dental association jump on. So lots of research out there about how early age dental issues in kids are sound predictors of health problems later on in life as adults. So, I mean, whoa, that just opens up. So how well informed are our folks, the people we're trying to reach, about the salient issues, the core issues, and what kind of support is out there? Next slide. So I've talked about two-way communication, and I want to just share some very specific examples, and you may be doing some of these already, but they all have to do with stewardship, stakeholder stewardship, and you can't overdo any of these things. You can't overdo meaningful engagement and meaningful interaction with your key folks. So the number one thing, and this still is number one, even though we've got social media and digital communication and all kinds of different ways of going about life and work, personal calls, the personal touch, thanking new members for coming on board, or calling in response to seeing somebody at an event, and whatever our engagement opportunity, to remind of an upcoming opportunity, to say thank you, to push something out there to folks. I always encourage, and whenever you're making a call, and even if you're just getting a voice machine, always ask a question. Always ask a question, because you will be surprised how many people will call you back because they want to answer your question. So the question could be, as I said before, what is it we're doing right? Or what else do you think we should be addressing it as an organization that we're not? People want to be seen and heard, and membership committees are that opportunity to see and hear other people, more so than any other part of your organization. Surveys are another great opportunity for good two-way communication, and two-way communication means you have to ask questions on your surveys that are open-ended and will trigger responses from people, and you need to actually then read those responses and respond to those responses. And at the end of the day, just sharing stories, and it could be the heartwarming stories of your members and what they've done in their communities or with their particular organization or things they want to do. But with the pandemic and now with war in Ukraine, I know it can get hard just to get through the day, and we have to really perk ourselves up And sometimes that's hard just to do for ourselves and our families. And then we've got staff that are kind of looking to us as leaders, and we have to rouse our energy and our kindness and our compassion. And nothing brings it out more than getting these heart stories that we're able to hear and we're able to share. And people need some inspiration. It's been just so tough the last couple of years, right? The last 3 years, and it's still tough. So whatever shade of difference we could make, let's do it. Let's make it. That might be the end of my, yes, that's the end of my formal presentation. And before I turn to Karen Lynn and ask her to share some things, I just wanted to see if the group had any specific question about something I covered that I can clarify. If it's open Q&A, hold off on that. But if there's any question particular to what I talked about, and let me just see, yes, buy ambassador sashes. Angela feels she looks terrible in a sash. It may just be the color. Try a different palette, Angela. Okay, so not seeing any pressing questions. Karen, I wanted to just ask you to share, because you've been in the industry for so many years, 25 plus years, and I've talked about some approaches to engaging members of membership committees. And is there anything you've seen where there was an organization you worked with where their membership committee they were really in there?
Yes, and thank you for inviting me to join you and to share information. And I guess my current role is one of the administrators of the Rotary Club of Chicago. So many of my examples will come from that particular organization. But Rotary One, they were the first Rotary Club. For the first 2 years I was with the organization, they had a membership committee of one. I was going to say a committee chair, but one person. And so what she did, her role really was to focus on member recruitment and onboarding new members. And so I think what was really great about what she had done is she really decided what her role was as a member committee of one. And she really focused in on what her role was, which was introducing potential members to the organization, getting them engaged in a meeting, attending a meeting, or participating in a volunteer activity. And once they applied, was really focused on getting them onboarded and doing an orientation session. What was really great about this was she did the onboarding, and once they became a member, she handed it over to the president of Rotary Club of Chicago, and the president called every single new member, and we're talking 1 to 4 members a month. So it's not an overwhelming task, but the president called every new member, and this still is happening, and would identify, have a very organic conversation with this member to identify, why did you join Rotary Club of Chicago, and really finding out the why. And I know somebody had posted in chat earlier, it's about the why, and it's finding out, why did this person join, and then connecting the person, the member, to their why. If they wanted to make a difference internationally, we got them on the International Service Committee's membership roster immediately. They were invited to the next meeting, and the committee chair reached out and said hello. If their focus was more local, we did the same thing with the Community Service Committee, and then making sure that that new member felt welcome when they attended that committee meeting. The other thing Rotary is awesome at is community service. And so if that new member, if their why was, I really want to get involved in hands-on service, we provided them with our menu of, here's what's coming up. Now, that was a little bit tricky over COVID and when we were all shut down. However, Rotary, being who they are, super innovative, they really were able to engage members online. We did online reading rooms, which started out kind of slow, but we ended up having 2 or 3 reading rooms a week during some points. And so we got members from all different segments of the membership to participate in reading rooms. And so I guess the message was, here was a membership committee of one who is a very busy professional. And what she was able to do is fine tune, here's what my role is. My role is onboarding, kind of the recruitment piece. Once they're recruited, then I turned it over to the president. The president then connected them to the next group within the organization, committee members, volunteer service. And so it really was an integrated approach to engaging the new members. Now she has a committee of 4. So we are looking at, okay, what is the role of a committee of 4? And now it's recruitment, onboarding, orientation. They're having now regular orientation sessions. They're doing a membership survey, which then will lead to whatever we find out there, whatever's next. And now the membership committee is also doing an event for potential members and new members. I think the other exciting thing that one of our groups has done.
Actually, Karen, yeah. Before you go on, I wanted to just, is it okay? Can we just pause there for a second? And
Sure.
I just want to build on those great examples you shared and ask anyone from this group, do any of the organizations you're currently with, or maybe another organization, have such focus on the care and handling of new members as Karen described, that degree of stewardship, that level, that personal touch of stewardship? Is there anybody on the call who'd like to share an example of? Yes, Tweed.
I see that kind of care at the Association of Consultants to Nonprofits. There's a new email that goes out anytime there is a new member. There's a member orientation, and yeah, it's the first time that I had seen that kind of level of care, and it's really great. Great community there, and hats off to Trisha on the call here, who is the one that makes all that happen.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with that. I am also a member of that association, and I was blown away at the level of contact from Trisha. But it's not just information. There, you could feel Trisha's voice. You could just get a sense of her excitement and just this sweet tone to her communications. And so I feel, wow, that's really great. So thanks, Tweed, for sharing that. Anybody else have a great care and handling, care and feeding anecdote or story from Laura? You just unclicked. Go ahead.
So I was the president of the Illinois Dental Hygienists Association. And what I tried to do was call each of our members to thank them for being members and just to find out how they're doing. I mean, there was, hundreds of members, so I only really got through, I think, probably 100. But I left a message on this one machine, and I saw the person like the week later, and she says, "Oh, I got the recorded message you sent me." And I was like, "No, I sent you that message. I spoke to you." So, but I mean, she thought it was like an automated phone call, and I was like, "No, I called everyone individually." But thinking back, I probably should have made an automated call and sent that out to everyone.
No, actually, what you did is the right way to do it. We all know what an automated call sounds like, and we don't want to hear them. So no, you were genuine in that situation, Laura. That's great. Okay, thank you all for sharing that. Karen, back to the next point you wanted to make, please.
This was about member engagement overall. And I am going to give another shout out to ACN, because of one of the new programs that they started this year was really based on committee surveys and feedback that they were getting from their members about the interest in doing networking. And so ACN, and again, there's lots of ACN members on this call, so please jump in and fill in any gaps or provide more details. But they launched a new program to engage their members based on what members were telling them in their membership survey. And this was, I'm gonna look to get it right, but empower groups. And they're really networking groups, intentional networking groups that also serve as community building within the membership itself. And they're focused on intentional conversations about specific areas. And the cool thing about this was it was also picked up by the ASAE, the American Society for Association Executives, and it was highlighted in their Association Now newsletter that goes out to hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, literally all the members of ASAE. And so it's really focused on what they heard from their members, a need for networking. And so they built these community groups, and they're self-forming groups. So once you join, you know, the members make the group what they want it to be. And I know there are groups on working parents and LGBTQ. And so they all just come together and they can share information and learn from each other. So that's kind of a bigger picture in terms of a member engagement committee, reaching out to their membership, listening to their membership, and creating these groups. So I don't know if Tricia or any of the other ACN members want to add any other information about Empower groups.
I actually was gonna tap into Lydia and maybe Judy too, if you want to weigh in, because ACN borrowed the concept from the Association of Fundraising Professionals affinity groups, and Judy is one of our chairs of that group, and Lydia is participating in a chair of one of our Empower groups for ACN. So maybe Lydia, you want to go first, and then maybe Judy can follow up.
Sure, if you don't mind, I'll stay off video, but yes, as I mentioned in the comments, I'm writing an article for Association Forum magazine about kind of the evolution of online communities and new things that people are doing in associations. So we plan to mention the Empower groups, and specifically I talked to David Dow, who is part of the LGBTQ plus group. They have had wonderful success in launching their group. They have so much activity. People are really excited about it. People are saying, you know, this is the highlight of my day, you know, going to this meeting. And they're also using the group as a way to do more advocacy within our organization. So one of the members is, you know, kind of becoming an advocate for our DEI initiative at ACN. So I'm really, really excited. I'm actually a member of the Working Parents group. And then I'm myself in launching a Grief and Loss Empower group. So really, really excited about where it's going. And I think I can speak for fellow members that we're all excited.
Thank you, Lydia, very much. And thank you, Tricia. I'd like to just build on the comments that were just made. And a few moments ago, Karen, when she was speaking, she said what they heard from their members, the members were interested in, and all of this recent talk about affinity groups and tapping into what members are interested in. That's so important. And is there anybody from the Pipe Fitters Association on this call? And I'm assuming there is such an entity. Okay, I'm going to use them as an example. So you're with the Pipe Fitters Association, and inevitably they have a scholarship fund for apprentices who want to become professional pipe fitters, and that's fine. But there also may be other things that their members, as parents, as adults with older parents, as parents of a kid with a special need, they may have other needs and desires and interests. And so we've seen all these studies in the last few months about teens and mental health issues because of the pandemic. And maybe the Pipe Fitters Association polls its members on what they care about, and helping youth is what they care about. And maybe it's picking a cause that's not the Pipe Fitters Association, where people can give time and money or have some kind of relationship. But again, it's asking, what do people care about? What's on their minds or what's in their hearts? Does that make sense? Lisa Seaman, let me get a Seamson, a head nod. Okay. All right. Let me just check the clock here. All right, we've got a few more minutes to go. Karen, let me ask you another question, and then maybe we can build off of that as we've been doing and throw it out to the group. In your work with organizations, were there any that you can point to that were so good at telling stories of people that were served, you know, the story of Lydia, the story of Julie, the story of Judith, and just reaching people at the head and the heart level?
Yes, so great question. And I will go to Rotary Club of Chicago, and I'm going to answer this in a couple of ways. We did a membership survey 2+ years ago and measured members' knowledge in terms of what projects was the club involved with, and again, what service projects. And again, this is Rotary Club of Chicago. Service above self is their mission. And so service and how the organization uses money is top of mind of all the board members. When we got to the membership, there was very little knowledge of how we use their money. So what the president did is he came up with service spotlights. And so we would try to do it twice a month, and then it became monthly because it's a really intensive process. We invited one of our grantees to come to our meeting, and this was the joy of virtual, because we could do international, we could do local, we could do everything. And so the grantee, our partner, could talk with us about how the Rotary dollars were used and the impact we made in the community. And we got to some of the international hospitals and the rehab centers. And I mean, it's amazing the impact that this organization can make. And so that was a really great way to then be able to tell your members, here's what your donations do, and the time that you donate to this club, here's how it's used. The other thing that we did is we watched social media to look for when was our member acknowledged for an award, and when did they get a new job. And so we would try to highlight that in our weekly newsletter, as well as put a slide up in the weekly program to say, hey, you know, Karen Lane just was promoted to director of marketing, and or whatever it was. So-and-so just had a baby. So again, trying to connect people to each other in this very virtual world. And so we also try to highlight Rotarians and board members, again, once a month, a highlight profile of a member so that we can share, here's what this member is doing, maybe in their professional life or their, you know, the time they're not working or not doing Rotarian business, this is what else they do. So again, they've really looked at how do we holistically bring our members into the organization so that they know what we are doing, how we are spending their money, and so they also get to know each other. So those are just ideas.
Thank you, Karen. So let me put that same question out to the room. And if there are a lot of consultants on the call, maybe it's clients that you've worked with, but let's talk about, are there examples out there of great storytelling that highlighted the work of the organization so people can see their membership dollars are doing more than just paying the administrators sitting in a fancy downtown office, but it's actually it's serving society in more ways than that.
David, let me jump in real quick to pick up on some of that. The thing that I'm catching out of all of this is the personal touch, right? The personal communication, the personal stories, the personal, you know, your lifestyles and such. And it's past the stodgy, you know, you just send an email and you have a session and you go home and you learn a little bit about whatever you're talking about. It's personal. And I just feel like that's, you know, maybe it's a challenge sometimes for an organization to get to that level, because everyone, you know, we want to be professional and we want to be, but taking care of people, communicating with people is just such a big piece to this that, you know, I don't know, that's what I'm walking away with right now. And I feel like it's something that's real, it's heartfelt, You know, you want to be around friends. You take extra time to go to events and programs with people that you know, feel that there's some value to it and there's some energy and some personal touch. So I just
Thank you.
wanted to share
And
some.
yet, you know, it feels good to just call and leave somebody a message saying, great to see you at the event, or thank you so much for becoming a member, or thank you for your $25 donation. We put it right to work. It's going to make a difference. You feel good as the person making that call. And if you're running a membership committee, there's no reason you couldn't go deeper and reach into other close-in friends of the organization and get a lot of people making calls on your behalf. But there's nothing I love more, honestly, than just leaving thank you messages for donations to organizations that I volunteer for, and then to actually have people call back and say, thank you for leaving your thank you message. I mean, wow, that's, you know, it's great.
David, I wanted to oh, Karen, go ahead.
I was just going to follow up with a story about phone calls, but Kim, do you want to go? You can go first.
Okay, sure. So when you were talking about stories, something that came to mind was one of the associations that I was managing, called the Chicago Asthma Consortium, was celebrating a milestone anniversary this year. So as most organizations do, they like to host their anniversary parties, right? Well, they haven't done one in 5 years. They've got a bunch of new people in place. Not everybody really knew the history. We couldn't find all the information. You know, it was just sort of, how are we going to do this and make it effective and really fun, but also, you know, kind of go down memory lane and, you know, tell people this is what we've done and these are all the great things. So the board, the executive board especially, got really involved and said, okay, here's the people we need to contact. They're from like 30 years ago, 30, you know, however long ago, started with the initial funders, have watched this thing grow. And I will tell you, it was amazing. The stories that they were able to share with us, the impact they were able to explain, you know, to all of the stakeholders that were on that meeting. It was absolutely wonderful. So if you haven't done that before, there's a way to go, right? Go, let's talk to some of the people that were here before. Somebody knows them. Somebody within the organization still knows and has been around that long, right? That they'll be able to try to help you figure out who to reach out to. But that was just a really, I think, effective way. And then it shaped now what all of the current leadership talks about and how they explain, hey, this is who we are, this is what we've done, and this is what we're doing, and here's where we're going. You know, how can you help us, kind of thing. I think second, the other thing I just wanted to mention was, I don't know if people are sitting on this meeting thinking, oh my gosh, this is great stuff, but how do I get it done? How do I actually make this happen? Right? Because one person, I know Karen, you know, obviously had a great membership chairperson that was leading, and I think I know who that was, but you do need to build your team around you to help you get this done, right? So, you know, and then assigning sort of roles, jobs that are palatable and not overwhelming for everybody. So the same organization, what we did is we put together a membership committee, and I'll be honest, that it's not the tightest, most well-run membership committee right now, but we had some really eager people on there. And one of the things that we said is, hey, look at all these lapsed members. We've got to reach out and find out what's going on. So we had one person that said, hey, I'll take all the lapsed. I'll do it. Put together a really nice email, sent it out, and within a matter of probably a week, we had renewed, I would say, a third of those people. So again, that personal touch, that outreach, many different ways to do it. I do agree. I think personal phone calls are one of the most effective ways to get in touch with people. However, it did, you know, it worked. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, but it is important to have
Thank you.
how do we do
Thank
it?
you, Kim. All those points were great. I appreciate it. We've got 7 minutes remaining. And if anybody knows me, I don't go over my allotted time. So we promised you we would end at 12:30. So we're going to end at 12:30 officially. Some people may linger. So if we can go back to the slideshow, Shelby, there are a couple more things we want to make sure we share with people before this ends. I want to give you these two. Was somebody asking me a question just
No,
now?
this was Karen. I was just going to make one final comment about the phone calls, and I'm sorry if I could, because I will say Rotary called all of their members, and one of our newer members said we were the only, Rotary called all of the members at the beginning of COVID, and one of our new members said we were the only organization that called them, and so we were the organization she was choosing to renew and stay a part of. So again, it's just you never know who you're going to reach and what that impact is going to be when you reach out to that member. So,
Well, and they clearly stood out from the
Yes.
other organizations. So that's the takeaway lesson. So here are a couple of takeaway homework assignments for you. And I want to encourage you to do both of these at an upcoming membership committee meeting, or maybe even a full board meeting. First is ask the folks in the room, what difference do we make as an organization? What difference do we make? And think broadly about the benefits we bring, the impact, the change we make. How is society better for us being in existence? And it's going to be really interesting for you to hear all the different answers. And that's fine, because at some point you're going to stitch them all together. The second homework assignment is to, with the same group, ask, so who are our stakeholders? Who benefits directly and indirectly from our work? And see how vast and broad an array of organizations, institutions, associations, agencies, and so forth you come up with. And then you'll stand back and you'll go, wow, we really do make a difference. As you answer both of these questions, they'll help you frame all the different ways you can make the case for why your organization, why your association is worthy of people's time and worthy of their money. So I think, Shelby, at this point, if you could flip to the next slide, I think, yes, I turn things over to Kim. So let me officially say thank you so much. I'm glad I was able to spend this time with you. Thank you for the input and the dialogue and the chats, and it felt great. And I'm sorry that we had to just wrap things up, but that's a good teaser for our next workshop, that it'll be equally as engaging. And I'll stick on afterward if anybody has any follow-up or questions. But Kim, I'll turn the microphone over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, David. That was really wonderful. Karen, thank you. You know, I definitely will be following up with an email to everybody. We'll have a compilation of materials from myself, David, and Karen. Basically, we have a committee charter / description worksheet that might be helpful for you when you're meeting with your membership committee and you're trying to understand who are we, what are we doing, and how are we going to do it, and how's it going to impact the organization. Also a sample of like a committee kickoff meeting. It's just a sample agenda to help you decide what are the things we really need to talk about today, so that you leave with something you know, that's tangible. There's going to be a today's volunteer article, as well as we are including an evaluation for today's session that we would love for you to fill out. Your feedback is so important to us, so that we know where we want to go with this, what we want to do next, which in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we will hold another session and you will get information on that. And we would hope that you can come back to us after having done some of this homework and share with us where everything is at. And we will continue the conversation. In the meantime, definitely go to, Shelby, if you could go to the next slide, please. The next one. We'll go back to that one. Go to www.chicagoassociation.com and you will find we have an events tab there. The next event that is coming up is going to be what we call a Community Connects event, which is basically a networking event. It's at the beautiful offices of Earls Architects and Associates. I do know that there's a number of Rotary members, Business Executives Association, as well as some of our other business partners and association partners that will be attending. So if you go to the website, you can register today for that. It's obviously free. It's at 4 o'clock, and it is the day before St. Patrick's Day. So I wonder if there'll be anything there green or Irish related. As far as if you go back a slide, Shelby, contact information right here. So if you'd like, we can make sure that this gets into the chat box, but David can be reached at his email or telephone number here in Chicago. Karen, obviously, her email and phone number as well. So we thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate it.